Hey, what's up? In this video, we're going to talk about what's new in Cine Designer Build 4. There's some new stuff happening with it, and I wanted to share that with you, especially if you're going to download it and start using it. You should watch this video. I'm going to try to make sure that you see it so that you have the chance to look at it, because things are getting a little bit different. Design changes are starting to happen as we speak. So let's get into it right away. Cinema 4D, we'll see here that immediately the build interface is a little bit different. So we have B4, and we have the camera builder up top. And then we have this thing called new stuff, and then camera rigs. Now the camera rigs are what you're used to working with in general. I would think most people are using this. So you click one button, it's really convenient, it's nice. All the controls are right here. Focal length, head, pan, tilt, it's all on one control. Also, as far as it being on your object manager, it's just one object with the Cinema 4D camera in it. That's really great. But the problem is, consider now that I have 10 different types of cameras, or 100. There's a lot of cameras out there. I'm gonna build them all. I would have to make a button for every single different combination. That quickly becomes impossible and kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to delete these layers off too. And I'll show you, this has always been there, but this is really going to be the way that we have to build our cameras moving forward. So I'm going to show you our new camera, the Alexa XT, and then the same old here, JL Fisher. And we bring that in. Now you may have done this before, but it's a little bit different here. Holding the wrong button. So there's our new Alexa. Get up on there real quick. It's very nice. Built to scale is the important part. And what's different about this is that you see every part of the machine. So we see the Fisher dolly. And the Fisher dolly only deals with what the Fisher dolly does, which is that. And then the O'Connor head only deals with what O'Connor heads do, which is this. So it's a lot more clicking. And here's the first time I've exposed this to you. We have a base plate that slides back and forth. I'll get a little bit closer here. The base plate can slide back and forth depending on if you have a big lens or something like that. And I know eventually the base plate will change length too, because there's different sizes. And the rods will change sizes, but I haven't implemented that yet. So we're starting to see how detailed this system is really going to get, because I'm going for max accuracy on this, which should be cool. But it's adding a tiny bit of complexity. If you grab the Alexa now, here's something new. You can change the focal length and the white balance. I wouldn't mess with the white balance if you're not familiar with the system yet, but you can change the format. So we can do HD 16:9, 2K 16:9, 4:3, or open gate. Really, they're all the same until you go to open gate. Then the sensor is much bigger on open gate with the Alexa, and then your lenses at 25mm is actually wider. And if you worked with the red cameras and you're used to working at 6K full frame or 4K HD, you realize that that changes the field of view of your focal length. That's now reflected in this new camera system, and you have to use the builder. You have to use this builder to get these cameras that are accurate in this way. Moving forward, the builder is really the only way to access the cameras. So my suggestion to you at this point, I'm going to work on automating this and making it better, is to create a null, and I would call it something like camera A. And what you want to do is don't change the order of anything of these things. Bring all of these things in to that null. So this is essentially what those pre-made buttons do for you. So like these buttons down here, they kind of do this process for you. And then what I've done is I've centralized a bunch of these controls all up into this object. But you'll see now that this top object has no controls. It's really just for moving this around. That's all it's for. That's called the global control. So what you're going to do is you're going to put all that stuff in this camera A, and then you're going to have to go through and click each one of these things individually to animate and move them around. And I know it's not the best workflow in the world, but I'm starting to work with another professional Cinema 4D plugin developer, and we're working on making something that allows this flexibility to hot swap and change the camera on this head, on this dolly, that sort of thing. We're going to try to make it a little bit easier and a little bit more visual. But as of now, we're looking at kind of still early stage development of this stuff, but this system is incredibly powerful and modular because you can remove certain things and have them still work. So something that else is new, we have something called a color chart. So this is simply an X-Rite color chart. If you render this in your scene, this black one will be a chrome sphere. That's going to be 40% gray, and that's going to be like 95% white or something like that. And this gray card is based on the color chart is based on the sRGB colors of the X-Rite color chip. So you can render this in your scene to kind of have an idea of how the real world lighting would match to this. So that's something that I added. I thought that would be kind of nice. The next thing is this dolly track object. So I clicked it and now it's in the scene. So there it is. It's pretty straightforward. It has a couple controls on it. You'll see that you can turn it off and on. You can change the length. So I could go to 80, which is 10 pieces of 8-foot track. or we can choose anything in between, and I'll choose that much for now. And the way that we connect our camera A to this dolly track, it takes a little bit more work than I usually expose to you, but I'm going to work on a system that makes it a little bit more, a little bit easier. But for now, this is the way that we have to do it. What you want to do is you want to bring in your camera, make sure it's in a group like this, and you're going to go to tags, and you're going to go to character, and you're going to go to constraint. I promise it's not that bad. So now that we have this constraint tag, what it's going to basically do is this pin is going to pin the dolly to the dolly track. That's kind of the visual metaphor that's going on here. So we click the pin tag here, or the constraint tag. You're going to change it to PSR, which is point scale rotation, I think. Basically parenting. And then you're going to click on the PSR tag. This is all the steps. This is it. It's just these three things. Then you're going to click this little arrow button, and it's going to ask you to select what it's being pinned to, or what it's going to be constrained to. And you're going to say the mount. And you're going to say it's the mount of this dolly track. So that's all we did. We added a constraint tag from here. And we went into character. You added constraint. Then when you click on this, you have to make sure it's a PSR constraint, which is already done. Then you're gonna change the target to the mount. Those are the steps. If you're not that advanced in Cinema 4D, that might seem like a lot, but as you get deeper into it, that's a very basic procedure, and it's something that if you just learned it for the first time here, that's very good. You're going to be using that a lot. So now what you can do is you can grab this, and then you can dolly the dolly. You can dolly this along the track. And that's how I've designed the system for now. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more visual, less adding constraints and that sort of thing. I don't want to force you to add constraints, but right now, if you're interested in using my this dolly track system, this is how it works. So that was the process, and this is going to be really helpful. You can basically drag this whole track wherever you want. I'm going to hit R. You can rotate it in the room. You can start to design where the track needs to go on set, and then from there you can grab the dolly track. You can animate this back and forth, figure out what the move is going to look like, and then of course you're going to also have to animate, the pan and tilt, and this thing. So every object here kind of has its own controls, and that's the way I have it laid out right now. It's just the most logical way. It's the easiest way so that I don't have to make a billion buttons. And it's also the way that Cinema 4D works in general from a design point of view. That's a very Cinema 4D way of working. And I'm going to build a specific Cinema 4D object plugin that will start to make this a little bit more visual, but essentially that's my design style. You have to go and find things here. I'm really trying to get away from selecting things in the viewport. I think the viewport selection thing is really messy. It doesn't work that great. So you really have to stay organized up here. So camera A here, you open it up, you do all the controls per object, and then the dolly track controls the dollying. And this is powerful again because if I take off that tag and I delete this camera is still here. Versus if you bring in one of these rigs, you can't delete anything off of it and have it still function without getting into it. This really exposes a lot of the inner workings of how the system works, and it requires just a little bit, tiny bit more from you. So that's our new Alexa, and that's how we're going to build camera rigs. And I will just quickly show you the red cameras because they are the same way, and I want to just show how that works. I don't know why that lens stays there. That does happen sometimes. I don't know what that lens is. Oh, I see. Okay. So all these textures, these came with the other stuff. You can just delete them away. You shouldn't really have to do that, I don't think. But let's look at the red dragon really quickly. Put it on this, and we'll put it on just like a regular old tripod. Just because I want to show you this workflow one more time. So I would call this Cam A again, or we can call it Cam B, whatever you want. Oh, I wanted to show you one thing. Where is it? Where did that thing go? Oh, it's over there, I see. Hitting H, there it is. I was just looking at the wrong part of the scene. Again, same system. This object has a control on it for up and down. This has pan and tilt, as always. And then here, again, the base plate, we have controls over that. And we're going to eventually have way more controls over the camera configuration itself. It's actually really important for certain shoots. And then the Red Dragon body, again, focal length, white balance. If you look in here, there's a lot of formats because the Red camera has a ton of stuff. So if I change from 5K full frame, it'll tell you the max frame rate. And it'll also tell you the image width and image height of that image that's going to be coming out of there. So that's kind of helpful. Now, if I go to 4K HD, the max frame rate is 120. This is stuff that you have to go look up on your own. Usually it's kind of a pain in the butt. At the same time, it will change the film back because, again, a 25mm on 6K full frame is very wide. But that same 25mm at 4K full frame is way less wide. And this camera will now reflect that. So that's it. That's the new camera system, both Red and Alexa. I really do recommend building it out this way. And if you want to look through this camera, a quick way, you can either go through cameras, Red Dragon here, or if you click on this camera, you can click this little box next to it. I don't know if everyone knew that. If you click that box, you're looking through it. And if you unclick it, you're not. So that's some stuff about the new cameras. Quickly to wrap this up, I think that's most of the design changes. Eventually, I'm getting rid of these buttons. Because they just don't make sense, because I'm going to have so many different cameras, so many things. You have to build them each time. You could go and save out these rigs into their own file somewhere, but for now I'm getting rid of them. Oh, and that Leica lens is there. I'm going to go make sure that doesn't happen. I don't know why that happens. I'll figure that out before I send this release out. New lights, not too many. This lantern, this is a special one kind of. It's really just 2 lights, so this won't take long to show. Here's our floor object. So you'll see that unlike the space lights, this this lantern actually emits light in the viewport. So I can change this to like 40,000, and you can see it's actually showing up in the viewport, which is nice, because like the space lights before, the way I had them, you couldn't see what they're actually lighting. But here, this will actually light your scene for you, so you can see it, what's going on. The controls, you can turn it off and on. You can change the color. Here's how you change the Kelvin color. 8,000, so now it's blue. Brightness is there. This skirt object, you can turn it off, or you can skirt the back of it. And then you can actually spin this, and it'll actually wrap around the entire thing. So now it would just be coming down from straight down. That's cool to have. And if you do a partial skirt like this, you can then rotate it around here. So those are the controls for that. Pretty nice. I like that rig a lot. And what's the last thing? I think our last thing is an Astra. So I added an Astra here by request. I think it was a good one to have. This works like every other light in the system. I'm gonna bump this up to like 40,000, or maybe that's way too much. 40,000, and again, you know, pan, tilt, same old deal. The colors work. Not that you can. This would be like gelling an Astra. Would be doing something like this. Now it's a pink Astra. So that is a look at build 4. A lot of reworking done in the camera system to add the different formats. I can get it out of here. So we added, I added an Alexa XT Plus, which is kind of like has all the formats of most of the Alexas in it. So even if you're using an Alexa Classic, just use the HD 16:9. That's the same as the Alexa Classic. And the red camera, I did the Epic Dragon because it's the most common one right now. I'll be adding the weapon and maybe some of the Scarlets, I guess. I forget if they're that different, but I'll add them in there. Those are the most popular cameras for, I think, the people using Cine Designer. I'll add all of them eventually, though. We'll have everything. You have to use the camera builder, and you're going to see every single part of the camera, and you need to click those to control them. I'm sorry if you don't like that workflow. I'm going to try to make something that's a little bit better, but it's the way that I'm allowed to make this stuff modular. So we're going to be getting rid of the camera rigs buttons eventually, but I'll leave them in there for now to help people out there. Maybe I'll always leave something like that, but you get forced into the camera. With the camera rigs, the one-click buttons, you can't change the camera. So it's not the greatest system in the world. And then we have some dolly track. Oh, I should show this. Let's hop back in here really quickly. I'll delete this away. We also have some new dolly track. This dolly track doesn't have anything smart in it though. So these are just, dumb models. So you could then, start just designing out dimensionally. This would have to be 45, I think. You can then just start to lay out where the track goes, but the track will not, the dolly will not parent to this track or do anything. It's just for layout. I am eventually working on building a smart curve track object that allows you to go like straight, curve, 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 straight. It's kind of tricky, so I'm still working on that. So the track system's in there too. That's a look at build 4, hopefully coming out sometime next week. I mean, depending on when you're watching this, it doesn't matter, but build 4 coming out soon. I wanted to show the updated camera system. It's really important. Moving forward, it's going to allow us to put different lenses on it and do some pretty important stuff with the cameras. So the cameras are a little bit more complex now. We started off very simple, but they're getting more complex because real world cameras are complex things, and this is a professional solution. It's not just like a simplified, here's a movie camera. No. We're putting like the Alexa on a BP12 on a 20-inch base plate on an like the very specific, and that's the power of it, and the helpfulness is that if you do it that way here, you can do it this way in the real world. So that's the sell on it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'll try to do a tutorial somewhat soon, but I thought this was important to get this out, this tutorial on how to use the new camera system in build 4. I'll check you guys later.